Welcome to another edition of Len's Burning Bush. I am Len Harvey. Before I bring on my guest for the week, I want to talk about what's really burning my bush. So if you're old enough to remember back in the 1970s when we had a gas shortage, we even had the odd and even lines, right? The odd and even gas lines, which was kind of interesting. And the gasoline lines that popped up in this past week where the meme was panic at the Citgo were shades of the 1970s. The good news is that Colonial has restarted its pipeline operations. So that is the good news, unlike in the 70s when everything was going on. After that cyber security attack, it will still be a few days, maybe a few weeks before things return to normal. But Colonial has said it will move as much fuel as possible and safely as possible. But having the operations down for 6 days, of course, is going to cause some intermittent service interruptions, is what they said. So I'll repeat that. Intermittent service operations. Now, it does take a couple of weeks for the supply to get down from Texas to Linden, New Jersey, usually about 2-week time frame, which, of course, if we didn't have all the panic buying going on, we'd have plenty of time to make sure every gas station in America is resupplied. But, of course, we don't, right? Phil Flynn, senior market analyst with the Price Futures Group, told WTOP that, you know, they've added the tanker trucks which carry the fuel to individual stations. They were loading them up. So they hope to have things back to somewhat normal. But what I don't understand is why the panicking. Did we ever really feel like there would never be gas again? I mean, come on already. The panic is what actually caused the actual shortage. Didn't we learn anything from the toilet paper kerfuffle? The toilet paper kerfuffle, right? Did we learn anything? Apparently, we did not. Lines of panic drivers overwhelmed gas stations in the southeast and in areas, 1 in every 5 gas stations was out of fuel on Tuesday. According to Alan Hardy, a plumber, he had driven from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to Wilmington, North Carolina. He said, look how crazy we're all getting over a little thing. He saw long lines at every service station on the road, and it just doesn't make any sense. So explain to me why people just can't fill their tank and be done with it. Why are they so selfish? They're filling up multiple gas cans and all these other peripherals. Why are they so selfish and take more than they ever will need? It reminds me of the zombie apocalypse mentality where they think the world is coming to an end and they want to be able to survive for 2 more weeks than everyone else. I mean, come on already. Also, pictures of people doing stupid things were popping up on social media. Plastic bags, they're filling up laundry baskets. These are the same people who think the vaccine isn't safe, but yet they'll put gasoline in a plastic bag. Let me repeat that. Gasoline in a plastic bag. And the fact that there was a tweet by the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, yes, there was, it said, do not fill plastic bags with gasoline. Yes, do not. Use only containers approved for fuel. When using a gas canister, never pour gasoline over or near an open flame. It's like the directions on the shampoo bottle. Wet hair, lather, rinse, repeat if necessary. With that being said, it's time to bring on my guest for the week. She is a fabulous TV host, brand expert, spokesperson, former TV and traffic anchor. She's also appeared on episode 10, Choices, last year. Let's welcome back Cindy Matthews to Len's Burning Bush. And do I have a reason to be upset this week with this whole gas kerfuffle?
Yes, you absolutely do. I feel like we've all gone a little off the edge lately. And some of it, I think, goes back to the pandemic, because I just looked after we started talking about this. I went to see how many rolls of toilet paper I have in my house right now. And in the olden days, I would think if I had a 4-pack of toilet paper as a backup, I was in really good shape. I have 3 of those ginormous, Costco, Sam's Club packs of toilet paper. And the other day when I had to open one of them, it almost made me a little nervous. And so who would have thought that that would be the situation we're in? But I think the pandemic really brought this concept that if something is scarce, you don't know when you're going to be able to get it again. The gas thing, I'm not sure I understand as much. I just figured I'll walk more. I'll ride my bike. The weather's nice. I'll do what I can for a week or two, knowing the gas will come back. But we've become so me-centric. It's all about me and not worrying about the community good and what's better for everyone.
The thing that I have a problem with is like people were fighting in line to get gasoline for their cars. And, the people they show, I hope some of these memes, these pictures were fake, but there were people that had, multiple gas cans, like multiple, filling up and causing lines and causing panic. Like, first of all, gas doesn't do very well when you save it. Okay. It's
Good
not
point.
a good, it's like it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's scary to me. When I was at the gas station, I saw a woman filling probably 8 of those large, several gallon containers and putting them in the back of her truck. And I thought I would be terrified driving home. What if you got rear-ended? What if something happened while you had all of that fuel in your car? It downright scary.
I don't like bringing, so I go get gas for the lawnmowers and I'll bring the tanks with me and I go to the gas station and I fill those up. I don't like, first of all, putting them in the car. I don't even like the chance of that smell in the car. I don't like that. And it's just, you think about what could happen if it blows. But let's put it in plastic bags. I mean, who in the laundry baskets? People, did you see these pictures? I mean,
I did not see the laundry basket.
Well,
That's classic.
Canisters,
But that's what I wonder. Most of us are working from home right now. There aren't that many people who are commuting each day. I understand you have errands to run and places to go, but how many people really need that much gas within a week or two? I think my car, I got it 2 years ago, and I think I just hit 6,000 miles because with the pandemic, it wasn't going anywhere. So it really baffled me. And then that sense of doom and gloom, where you mentioned people getting in fights at the pump and the emotional aspect of it, it's scary to think that we can turn on each other so quickly over something that, while important in our daily lives, isn't truly a necessity. It's not air, not food, water.
Right. I mean, in the 70s, it actually was a shortage. We weren't getting it, and the people with the odd and even and all that stuff, that was a real thing. And this was obviously a hack, which nobody's brought up the fact of the hack and how we can, that's the scariest thing in the world, I think, for me, because it just shows that we as Americans don't realize how we everything can be shut down in a heartbeat. Like, we were worried about 2000, right? Everybody was worried about Y2K.
The millennial bug.
The millennial, like, this is the millennial bug. This is the thing that's going to happen. There's going to be somebody that's going to hack into anything, and it's going to shut down the entire world. COVID shut down the economy, but if you get into the banks or get into, I mean, there's, think about it, not being able to go get money out. It'd be like the run at the bank in the It's a Wonderful Life scene. I've never seen the makings of a run, but that's kind of what it is, right?
Right. And our entire lives are online now. We are so vulnerable, and our public utilities are vulnerable. All aspects of our lives, everything, it is frightening. And that's what I think scared me even more than people's reaction at the gas pumps, is just starting to think about what would happen. And as cryptocurrency becomes more common and more popular and is accepted in more ways, if we shift to that world, that's also always going to be vulnerable because it's all online. There's sometimes when I feel like, my grandmother going, oh, back in the good old days, when we used cash.
Yeah.
I love the convenience we have today, but it's funny too. Right when I heard about the gas problem, I was thinking, oh, maybe I should look into getting an electric car for my next vehicle. And then I was like, well, the electric grid can have problems too and would be susceptible to the same kind of hack. Exactly.
Did you see Texas over the winter?
Yes.
No, you don't want to. The electric
heartbreaking
is worse. I think people don't understand. Forget the environment. Everybody's all worried about, oh, it's going to be better for the environment. Really isn't, but that's another story for another topic. But that it could be worse. You could be looking at a situation where, that you may never, power could not come on for weeks. What do you do then? You can't even charge your phone. People would be lost.
That's why I live in hurricane territory.
Yeah.
We all have those solar chargers. And also the crank radios for emergency situations. And I would probably be the one sitting there cranking it for 14 hours trying to use my phone.
I bet you would. It's like the scene, what's funny is the movie Airplane, right? Is back in, I think it was 1976, 77, is when that movie came out. And they had a scene in there where they had to announce that they were out of coffee. And there was a whole big deal, right? The new movie, if they had a new movie coming out, it would be there's no Wi-Fi, and everybody would act the same way. My God, you can't be on Facebook and Twitter and
Now
Instagram.
that might be the circumstance when I would be trying to beat everyone else up the ladder to the roof of the building to try to get a little bit of cell signal so you can still communicate.
It's almost like, what did we do before the phones and the stuff? It's like, oh my God, we're so dependent. It's like crack. It's like feed the crack.
How many people's phone numbers do you actually know? Do you have memorized?
I barely know my wife's phone number.
And I did a story years ago with a judge, and they were saying, I didn't know this, that when you go to jail, it's not like they let you look up phone numbers on your phone. You need to have a couple phone numbers memorized for emergency situations. And I was thinking about that. If my phone died, who would I be able to call without accessing my contacts list? And this is a weird one because when I got married, not too long ago, that was one requirement. I was like, we both have to have each other's cell phone number memorized, and we made it part of the ceremony.
I find it interesting that you went the prison route, like you were expecting to go to prison. But I would.
You never know.
Well, exactly. But you're right. When I was a kid, I knew everybody's phone number by heart, and I also knew license plates. For some reason, I could memorize license plates. Now you get a new one every couple of years, but it used to be like I could remember the license plates for people. Yeah, I was scary good with memory. Now I got to be honest. You're right. I never enter a phone number. It's cut and paste from a text or an email, and then it's just you have it in your contacts. And oh my God, God forbid the contacts go away. I do not understand people that get a new phone, and to this day you'll see, got a new phone. Text me your new contact info. Do you not know how to back up your phone these days? I mean, are we that stupid?
But is it a problem? Like if you're switching from an iPhone to an Android phone, can you have the contacts transferred?
You can. Now, the way you do that is you always have. So I have two ways that I do it. So I have an iPhone, and I always just restore from backup. That's how I keep it. I tell my kids, just make sure your backup's current. When we get a new phone, it's gonna just be like you didn't lose anything. And I have, from the last 8 years of iPhones, I have every single contact. But
what happens if you suddenly get a Google phone?
I was going to get to this. I took a little bit longer. You're a little bit anxious. I understand that is, it's all good. No, what you do is you back your contacts up in Google as well. So what the other phones use Google, and you could just transfer that. Or there's a device at the store that allows you to transfer contacts from Apple to. Oh, good. Yeah,
so there's no excuse.
There is never an excuse. Just people are lazy. They don't want to do the extra mile. They get a new phone and they're like, it should all just magically appear. It's magically, there, but it's not. And but I don't know what we're going to do without these phones, without everything. It's, we're constantly on the internet, and of course, here I am recording from FaceTime on the internet with you. So I guess I'm part of the problem as well. I'm not part of the solution. I don't know how to fix it.
And that's why in so many ways it's really helped our lives. I remember when I was a little kid having to call my friend for directions to their house so I could give them to my mom and she could drive me there. Now, because I use Google Maps and Apple Maps all the time, I don't remember how to get most places because I'm so used to just punching it in and following the instructions that it is a little worrisome that we've become so dependent. But at the same time, it's like we have this wonderful tool at our fingertips, quite literally. Why not use it?
No, I agree with you 100%. I use it too. I've got, with the cars, you get the navigation or you get whatever. It's just so much better to do that than printing out the old maps or having the Hankster map in the car. Like nobody even knows what that is these days. Like to have an actual map or read a map, right? It is kind of interesting that you just look on your phone or, but you're right though. It takes me it used to be one time I would drive to a place and I'd know how to get there. Now It's like 3 times because I still look at it took me, my, I'm trying to think recently I was going someplace and it took me when I was getting my shots, it took me one time and then I'm like, oh, how did I go? I can't remember. And then I used the navigation again and I'm like, oh, it was pretty simple. Why did I not? But yeah, you don't remember, like you're not doing it. I think that's the problem with even the kids with the learning today is nobody's writing stuff down and they're not taking notes and they're just putting it on their phone and, you're really not typing it. When you write it, physically write it, it starts to, you start to remember it.
That's how my memory works. And they'll make fun of me in meetings. I still bring a pad of paper and a pen. And everyone has their laptops. And what I do is I take written notes and then I'll go home and I'll actually type it into my computer another time I'm going through it. So it's really stuck in my brain and it works for me. But I know that, any kid in school these days, they've never had to do that. I remember being in classes where the teacher was lecturing and your hand would hurt because you're trying to write so many notes so quickly. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Did that happen to you?
Well,
and now I was like, that stuff, it was in your head.
I still do it. So I am old school and new school. So like you are. And what I do in meetings, I actually have a notebook. And anytime I've got this notebook, I have every notebook from the time I've been at my company. I keep them and I date them. And then if I ever want to go back to the date, I can find them. But the information is there and I write it out and then I'll put it in the computer as well. The stuff that's important, right? The little stuff. But I still write it out. I remember, so you bringing up the point of your hand hurting. So this is a good story. So when I was in high school, I think it was sophomore year. So this is going back to before there were cars, I think. Anyway, sophomore year of high school, we had biology, and I had an interesting teacher. He was kind of interesting in a lot of ways. We counted the amount of days he wore the same pants every day, but that's another story. But he made us in class. So the assignment was the notes had to be rewritten. So with red pen. And then that was a homework assignment. And it really helped you remember, but you wrote it, and if you had it, you could not bring a red pen to class because everybody tried to do that, right? Yeah,
sneaky.
you couldn't bring a red pen to class. So you had to write it out in blue or black or whatever. And then at night, you had to rewrite it in red pen. So that was your assignment. But it really got you when you took the notes in class and then rewrote it. It made sense at the end of the day, right? When you rewrite stuff, it just makes it better. I think. Yeah.
Typing does not have the same impact.
No, it does not.
And that's where I worry now. I still like sending cards and handwritten notes on occasion because we get so little mail or it's not fun mail that I think it's a nice surprise when you get something like that. But I start to worry if I'm sending it to a person who's like 10, can they read cursive?
Yeah.
So many places don't teach it anymore. Then maybe that's part of the fun. They have to decipher it.
Well,
find the code.
My handwriting is kind of like that the doctor, so it's not very good. It's never been very good. So I don't do many handwritten notes anymore. Although, sometimes even in sales, it's a good idea to send a handwritten note. But it's you don't see a lot of that anymore. The fact that you want to do that just makes you a better person, I think, than me, and I like that. I like that about you.
Well, I'll take that. I think it's just I think we do for others what we like for ourselves. And I get excited when I get a little card in the mail or something when it's in with all the advertisements and catalogs and bills, but I guess we don't even really get bills in the mail anymore. I get everything online.
Yeah, there's a few bills I think I still get in the mail for some reason. I didn't convert to, but I pay it online. I pay it in the app. I don't even go online anymore. It's on the app for the most part. Or it's automatically withdrawal. I mean, perfect example. I finally got the car that I've been talking about for months, and we ordered it, in January. Finally got it May 7th, And the car came in and got a good deal on it, which I was very happy with. The insider's deal, which is good, the putty
Nice.
insider's deal. But anyway, it didn't take Chase Bank more than a week, and I already got the bill. It was like 6 days. I already had the new statement for the new car.
Wow.
So this nonsense.
They're on top of that.
Oh, of course, they want you to pay them. It all comes down to it. So quick stuff on that. But yeah, you don't really see many. But I did get that in the mail. So it did come in the mail. So there's a few things that still come in the mail. I
got to
did
keep the post office open for me so I can send cards.
Well, speaking of the post office, those of you that don't know, the deadline for tax day is Monday the 17th. And, of course, I have to pay. So they're getting it on the last possible day. So the IRS will get their thing. I hope they're not listening. But anyway, they're getting it. I don't even have a stamp on it yet. I've got it in the mail, ready to go. But I got to get a stamp. I have to actually go to the post office to get a stamp. Is that right? Is that how that works?
Yeah.
I haven't mailed something in a
Pretty
long time.
much. I find I do a lot of online shopping, and with the returns, I'm more comfortable if I actually take it to the post office so I get the receipt. I can prove I sent it back, and that's when I buy stamps.
Okay. Well, I'm happy that you're buying stamps. And not everybody has been, with this whole pandemic thing, everybody's been a little bit freakish, as you mentioned. And it's been over a year, and everybody's kind of crazy. Gwyneth Paltrow has dealt with it in different ways. Gwyneth Paltrow apparently hit the bottle every night, interestingly enough. She gained 14 pounds during this whole thing, too. And she's well known for her wellness and fitness brand Goop. And I think she's got the candle for her vajayjay. I think is another, but that's another story.
Another day.
Another day. But apparently she concocted a lot of quinoa whiskey cocktails to help her get through the lockdown. This is according to the Mirror, which the Mirror has got good stuff. But she was drinking 7 nights a week, making pasta, and eating bread, and she totally went off the rails. Now, she's 48. She means, who drinks multiple drinks 7 nights a week? Well, it's not healthy, but I would say that I'm...
pandemic.
Yeah, I know. She loves whiskey, and she makes a fantastic drink called the Buster Paltrow, which she named after her grandfather, who loved whiskey sours. She talked about, and the great quinoa whiskey from the distillery in Tennessee with maple syrup and lemon juice. So it sounds heaven. It really does.
It sounds like a health tonic to me.
It really does.
But, with the pandemic, I always considered myself a light drinker where, I love wine, I love cocktails, but most of the time during the week wouldn't really indulge. And then on the weekends, going out to dinner. During the pandemic, suddenly we had happy hour all the time.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of gin. And what the craziest thing is, I had COVID. And right after, I lost my sense of smell and most of my taste. But oddly, I could taste gin and tonic.
Oh.
So for about 3 weeks, I was having gin and tonic every day because you're so excited to be able to taste something and truly enjoy it that I laugh going, I'm the only person who got sick and then gained weight because of it. Everybody else probably didn't want to eat anything. And I was indulging in fat, sugar, salt, and gin.
All of a sudden, you turn into Dudley Moore from the movie Arthur. I know what happens. I race cars. I fondle women. I have weekends off. But best of all, I am my own boss, right? You just start drinking. It's like, waiter, where the hell's my drink? But she said, Paltrow said she didn't get blackout drunk, but was hankering for cigarettes during her nightly drinking. She misses it, she said, of the former smoking habit, but the drinking, I guess, will continue. I don't know what's going to go on. But, like you said, sometimes I think everything in moderation is good. As we start, maybe 7 or 8 a night might be a little much. But again, I'm not going to judge. I am not here to judge anyone. I think people judge people too much.
Absolutely. Well, and during this time, it's a comfort. We're looking for anything to bring some sense of normalcy or fun and joy as we go forward. And we had to get through it somehow. I found Fritos, double stuffed Oreos, gin and tonic, all those things. Those were my comfort foods.
Yeah.
Now I'm back to veggies. But
well, I like Fritos and double stuffed Oreos, so I could definitely come over to your house. And gin, I'd be okay. I like vodka a little more. But
okay, we can work with that. And it makes an excellent dinner. You feel like there's the corn and the Fritos. If you indulge in some salsa or dip, that can get you some more nutrients.
I was, it's interesting. I was more of a Doritos fan back when I was a kid. But as I eat Fritos now, I'm like, how did I not like eat these more? Because they're fantastic. I get the big box of like assorted chips, like in their bags, the assorted bags of chips. And I just found like a couple of bags of Fritos, and I'm like, oh my God, these are spectacular. It's just a simple thing, right? Simple snack.
They're delicious. I don't know why Fritos and Pringles. I think Pringles take me back to when I was a kid too, that they're particularly comforting and tasty. But I also discovered, I believe one can of Pringles is one serving. And I don't think that's really how it's supposed to work.
No, I don't think that's one. But you can't, it's like anything else. You can't eat just one and maybe one serving. One canister. But you're right. Pringles was another. You know what's another really good chip? Similar to the Pringles, it was called Munchos. They were they were an orange bag with the and they were similar to Pringles with the taste. Some of them you just went over. You know, nowadays people get the Bake Lays and the other stuff. It's like, come on, you know, we're not looking to be healthy here.
If you're gonna do it right.
Exactly. It's like eating non-fat ice cream. Like I just don't get it. I mean, it's got to have more fat, I think. Not less.
I do feel like a rebel. I use half and half in my coffee. I'm like, same thing. It's like, I just go for it.
Well,
it tastes so much better to me.
I am glad you go for it because that's kind of it. And speaking of going for it, apparently Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have been seen together. Bennifer is back. And there was even a Jeopardy question, apparently, about Bennifer. And the whole thing there, the movie, you know, apparently they have been seen maybe reconciling, you know, from a long time. They were engaged, I don't know if you remember, from 2002 to 2004 after meeting on the set of Geely, which was not a good movie. But she apparently has the ring, I think, is what they're saying. The ring was a 6.1 carat diamond from Harry Winston and reportedly cost, are you ready for this, $1.2 million. You have to really love somebody, or at least in good light, to spend $1.2 million on them.
But wait, she didn't give it back?
That's what they're saying. An article today is talking about it, that apparently Jennifer Lopez did not give back the ring. I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but it's just everybody wants to hear about Bennifer and the whole thing. Apparently her and A-Rod didn't go over very well. I think what ended that relationship, the A-Rod thing, was New Year's Eve. The two of them kissing and making, it's like, who wants to see that? That's when I was over it. You know, I was over that then.
Well, I mean, he supposedly was, you know, hitting up other girls, so that'll cause a problem. That'll cause a rift in your relationship.
And this is surprising because that's probably how they got together in the first place. I always find it interesting that the people that cheat on each other wonder why they get cheated on, right? They cheated on someone who, you know, they tell two friends and so on, and that's how it really works. And that's another television commercial, if you remember, the tell two friends.
Exactly.
Yes, okay.
Well, and it's funny because I'm realizing now, I guess relationships are just like the fashions, that all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, that's coming back in style. So I just hope we all don't have to go back to whoever we were seeing 20 years ago.
No, I don't think that's going to be happening. So
not a new trend.
Not a new trend. And since we were talking about alcohol, which through the whole pandemic, I wanted to bring up a kind of a sad thing, or not a sad thing, but just I enjoy the show Mom on TV. And
love it.
There was just the final episode last night. I guess they couldn't go, you know, after Christy left this was the last season. I got to be honest, though. I didn't miss Anna Faris this year at all.
I only missed her the first episode or two. It was strange. I felt like they had to find their footing with the cast that was left. But I thought they did a spectacular job shifting that and making it still one of my favorite shows.
It really is terrific. Allison Janney is just fantastic. But I actually think the person that plays Adam, and I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of his name. He is what brings the show together. And Marjorie and the whole cast, Chuck Lorre, for what he does. He is the sitcom king. Now, he is the Norman Lear of this generation. He is just amazing. Chuck Lorre has done 2.5 Men, Mike and Molly, He has done now
Brilliant.
Mom. He is brilliant. And he, they asked him, why is this show ending now? It's, critically acclaimed. And he says that's a wonderful question. It's not something we wanted. He said in advance of Thursday's finale. But Laurie said he was surprised and disappointed when he learned in February that Mom, which centers on a group of friends which support each other in recovery from addiction, would end. And, a feeling shared by the cast members. All of the cast members enjoyed it. Despite the sadness of the show ending, Laurie appreciates having the chance to work with the ensemble. And here's, I should have just looked a little bit further, but Allison Janney featuring Mimi Kennedy, Jamie Presley, Beth Hall, Kristen Johnson, and William Fichtner, and fellow executive producers Gemma Baker, Nick Bakay, and Warren Bell. But it's a fantastic show. We're sorry to see it end. And I actually think it was getting better this year. And it's, it's kind of, it's a shame that it will not be anymore. But go back, if you haven't watched Mom. I was one of those late to the party because I'm late to the party with a lot of shows. But I think this was one of those that I started watching and then I binged watched and I was like, oh my God, I love this show.
What a wonderful way to humanize a common problem. It's something so many people deal with, but to be able to have fun and see joy in their lives at the same time, we're along the ride with them. And sometimes it's painful, but they still have so much fun, and the bond of those women and the way they support each other through this, I thought was absolutely incredible. The writing's spectacular too.
Yeah, well, they do a great job, and a lot of these shows that are on are just amazing. Speaking of amazing, and I want to get to you in a second. We've kind of rambled on, but I do want to talk about this. So I've been in the radio business a long time. You've done television, and one of the things we don't see ourselves doing when we're in our 90s, still doing this, right? I don't think I'm going to be 96 still doing a podcast, which I don't know if I make it that long. Why not? But after more than 7 decades in radio, a 96-year-old Hong Kong DJ bid farewell to his listeners last week with Time to Say Goodbye, sung by Sarah Brightman and Andrea Bocelli. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Goodbye. Thank you for coming. Ray Corderio said in both English and Cantonese before signing off ahead of the 1 a.m. news. This is actually this morning. I apologize. It was Saturday. So it began his radio career 72 years ago and a more than 50-year run for the show all the way with Ray, which started as a public broadcaster, RTHK, in 1970. And he rubbed shoulders with Tony Bennett, the Beatles, Cliff Richard. But again, 96 and saying, you know what? The fact that he was still doing it is amazing.
That's phenomenal. And I guess, when you love something, it's not work. And that's what a lot of people have trouble understanding, because I think, why would you want to keep working if you didn't have to? But if you love what you're doing, it is what you would choose.
Yeah, no, he said he was... for his last show, he spun a variety of tunes from the Carpenters, Perry Como, and Louis Armstrong, among others. And it's interesting you bring that up about the fact of loving it. And that, Alex Trebek, right up until the end, right? He was hosting Jeopardy even with cancer because he loved it that much. It wasn't that he had to work, right? Nobody has to be the host of Jeopardy. But it was just fun for him. It was just his life, right?
So you may be doing this when you're 96.
Could be.
Why not? I hope I can still come on.
Well, I hope so. But if I was going to live that long, I probably should have taken a lot better care of myself to get to that. I still got a ways to go, but in my 50s, I'm not doing so well.
I got really panicked. I went to a psychic with a friend for her birthday, and the psychic told me I'm going to live a really long time. And I think she expected me to be overjoyed, and I started freaking out going, I'm not sure I can afford that.
Well, what people don't understand, if you want to live on $4,000 a month and you want to retire at 65, you're going to need $480,000 to do that, at least. Really $960, but if you get some Social Security, you can, So that's 20 years from 65 to 85. If you live to 96, wow. you're going to have to get more than that. So that's kind of where that comes in. But we went on and on. I want to talk about you for a second. Promote some of the things. You've got your TV website. You're on HSN still, right? selling women's shoes like Al Bundy. Is that right?
Exactly,
okay.
exactly. I can't believe it's been 10 years that I've been in the footwear industry now, and started out as a broadcast journalist. It's not exactly where you think you're going to end up, but it's fun. It is fun, and it's honest, which I really appreciate, and that's partly why it's fun. But I also get a lot of free shoes. So what woman doesn't like that? I get overwhelmed by shoes. It's fabulous.
I think that's terrific, and I would buy shoes from you if you sold men's shoes. You'd be the type of person I would buy shoes from. So I think you seem like that trustworthy person on TV, to buy shoes from.
Well, thank you. But it is one that, especially coming from that journalism background, I've been very fortunate that I'm picky in what products I will deal with. And not everyone has that luxury or chooses to take that stance. And, I feel very beholden to people that, what I say is true and accurate. And I want them to have happy feet.
Oh.
It makes all the difference in the world. When your shoes, when you're getting blisters or you're uncomfortable, it's terrible. Nobody wants that.
No, nobody wants that. We all want happy feet. That's why there was a movie, right? Wasn't
exactly.
it the Penguin movie? Well, you can. How can people find you?
Oh gosh, Instagram, Cindy Matthews TV is one of the easiest ways. There are 2 T's in Matthews. That's always the key.
Oh, 2 T's. I like that. Matthews with 2 T's. Well, you can like Lens Burning Bush on Facebook at Lens Burning Bush. Follow along at Lens Burning Bush on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel where we're putting the audio together, although nobody's subscribing, so it's not good. We got to get people to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Search Len Harvey or Lens Burning Bush, the hashtag. I put that in there. It's all the audio from all the episodes that I've been uploading since probably after the first of the year, but so it's not all 57 episodes or 58 today. But you'll see a lot of episodes on there, and if you like, put it on YouTube, give it a like, give it a follow. But you can also listen on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. You can ask Alexa to play Lens Burning Bush. So when you do, just say Lens Burning Bush podcast, because I don't know what's going to come up if you just say Lens Burning Bush. So I don't want.
You could get people in trouble.
I could get people in trouble. I don't want that. But it's on Pandora now too. It took me a long time to get approved on Pandora, but we've got downloads in the UK. So thanks to everybody that's been listening. But it's been a good run. I really enjoy doing this every week, and I will continue to do it because, it helps me, right? And it's all about me at the end of the day.
And you're great. This is wonderful. And I'm really impressed. I can ask Alexa to play your podcast.
Yes, it's amazing.
That's a pinnacle.
That's what you're going to do right after the show. You're just going to go, Alexa, please play Lens Burning Bush podcast. And now everybody's going to have their Alexa device go off in the house if they're listening to me on Alexa. Well, thank you, Cindy Matthews. You are a treasure. I am so glad you came back on the show. It is so good that you're healthy after COVID. The world is a much better place with you in it. So if you're going to live to be 90-something, maybe I'll hang out with you when I'm 90-something.
I like it. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
That sounds good. We'll be back again. I'm Len Harvey. We'll be back again with another episode of Lens Burning Bush next week. So long.